Joining us now, National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications at the White House, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby. Admiral, thanks for being with us this morning. It's been a brutal 24 hours in Ukraine with Russian launching, by most reports, about 81 missiles, perhaps some Iranian drones in there as well, attacking infrastructure in places like Odessa, going back into Kyiv. What do you read into this latest assault from the Russians?
We're still kind of piecing it together, Willie, but it certainly seems to be of a piece of the kinds of brutalizing tactics that Mr. Putin has been willing to visit upon the Ukrainian people now for the last several months. I mean, the last time he did something of this size was about 2 weeks ago, so it's certainly not out of the norm for him. And it's clearly, and you said it best, these are targets that were largely civilian infrastructure. He's trying to knock out the lights. He's trying to turn off the heat. And he's trying to do it all over the country. In fact, some of the strikes we know now occurred all the way as far west as Lviv, right up near that Polish border.
Right. So, and that's really pushing deeper into the country, as you say, than they've been in some time. So is there some timing that you all have assessed here that's significant for the Russians at this point in the war?
It's difficult to know specifically, Willie, whether there's some sort of timing aspect to this, whether it's the beginning of some sort of kickoff of larger offensive operations. Again, when we look at what happened overnight, it's very much in keeping with the kinds of attacks that he's been doing in recent weeks and months. We know the fighting is vicious around Bakhmut in the Donbass area there, but we haven't seen indications elsewhere along that long front line that sweeps all the way down near Kherson that tells us that a major ground offensive is in the offing anytime real soon. So,
Admiral, supposedly we're told about 80 missiles were fired. 6 of them were the hypersonic Kinzhal missiles. That's left them from what we're told is maybe they have as many as 50 of those supersonic missiles. What does that tell you, if anything?
Well, we can't confirm the use of hypersonic missiles just yet. That said, it wouldn't be atypical for the Russians. We know they have fired hypersonics into Ukraine in the past. We don't believe that the use of hypersonics are some kind of game changer for the Russians. It could be that they are running that low on other munitions and cruise missiles that they needed to fire. They needed to dig into their inventory of hypersonics. It could be that they were trying to send a strong message to Ukraine and to the West about their capabilities. But clearly you don't need a hypersonic missile to hit a power plant or a fixed building. So it's difficult to know exactly what they were thinking here. And we can't confirm the use of hypersonics.
Admiral, good morning. It's Jonathan. One of the targets was Odessa, the port city that plays such a key part there in the Black Sea. And we should note the grain deal struck with Ukraine expires in about a week's time. And we know that when it was struck, there had been real concern that if a deal wasn't brokered, so much of the world could starve. What is the level of concern, though, as Putin launches all these missiles, that he might not be willing to negotiate to an extension of that deal?
Yeah, we're very concerned about that, Jonathan. As you rightly said, the extension's coming up here, and we want to see it extended. It has made a difference, this grain deal, in terms of helping provide low and middle income countries additional foodstuffs and keep their food security at a higher level. So we want to see this grain deal extended. And it is not the first time that he has hit Odessa. In fact, the last time he hit Odessa, he actually hit a grain terminal, which absolutely affected the ability of that port to get grain out on ships and through the Black Sea. So it is deeply concerning. Odessa remains something that we know the Russians still have ambitions for because it is such a major port on the Black Sea, because it is so critical to Ukraine's economy.
Admiral, the assessment from American intelligence that China may be getting ready to provide lethal aid to Russia has spilled out into the newspapers over the last couple of weeks. Do you have any update on that? Do you believe that China is now, or at least is preparing to provide material lethal aid to Russia?
We still don't believe that they've taken this off the table, but we haven't seen any firm indications that we can point to confirm that they have provided any kind of lethal weapons to Russia. And look, we still believe it's not in their interest to do this. If they care about their standing in the international community, if they care about human rights at all, they wouldn't come in on the side of Putin to help him kill more Ukrainians. So we've made it very clear to them privately. We've certainly made it clear publicly our concerns about this, and we hope that China makes the right decision here.
And what if they don't, Admiral? What if they cross that line and they do provide lethal aid to Russia? How does that change things for the Biden administration?
Secretary Blinken has talked about that, Willie. Certainly, we'd have to make some decisions. But I really don't want to speculate now about what that would look like when we don't have firm indications that they've actually moved in this direction. Again, we've made it very clear to them that this is not the right move for them to make. It's certainly not good for the people of Ukraine. It's not good for China. We don't believe it's in their interest, and we want them to make the right decision here. Again, if I wouldn't want to get ahead of where we are right now, and certainly we've again made it very obvious that we would have to make some decisions at that point.
National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications at the White House, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby. Admiral, thanks so much for your time. As always, we appreciate it.